Tens of thousands of low-income seniors and Californians with disabilities could lose Medi-Cal coverage due to a proposal in Governor Gavin Newsom's budget revision. ABC 10's Becca Habecker joins us in studio to explain what's really at stake. And Becca, you caught up with advocates just this week who are really urging lawmakers to reject this proposal.
Yeah, Alex, Governor Newsom wants to reinstate something called the asset test to determine eligibility for Medi-Cal and in-home supportive services for low-income seniors and Californians with disabilities. Now, disability rights advocates say this came as a shock last week, and now they're scrambling to advocate for their health care coverage. Elizabeth Gesamburu of Stanislaus County is talking with lawmakers this week.
I stopped into Joe Patterson's office, Don Addis's office.
She's advocating for herself and all Californians with disabilities who are on the Medi-Cal and in-home supportive services or IHSS programs, asking legislators to reject a provision in the state's budget proposal.
They don't want to see a step backward either, so that is encouraging.
She's talking about a cost-cutting proposal Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled last week in his May revision of the budget. It would reinstate something called the asset test.
It kept us in poverty. It kept us as second-class citizens.
For decades, a single person couldn't have more than $2,000 in assets. For a couple, the limit was $3,000. That limit did not include the value of a primary home, vehicle, or retirement fund, but did include things like a regular savings account, cash, and a second vehicle. Starting in 2024, the asset test was eliminated, and more than 100,000 newly eligible seniors and Californians with disabilities enrolled in Medi-Cal.
It was such a step forward for us to get rid of that asset test, and now to see it in the budget revision is heartbreaking. It's terrifying that we would be taking a step back in disability rights.
Governor Newsom argues the influx of enrollees cost the state more money than anticipated. His revised budget says reinstating the asset test for both Medi-Cal and IHSS eligibility would provide estimated general fund savings of $94 million this coming fiscal year, $540 million the next, and $791 million annually thereafter.
It's unjust and it's cruel.
Advocate Julia Feinberg lives in Oakland and says returning to that strict test is unrealistic.
If I get $1 over $2,000, I lose everything. And it is incredibly challenging to get that back. And in the meantime, I have to pay out of pocket for the caregivers that were taken away from me. So I'm going to go into debt because I wasn't allowed to save.
Mohammed Rashid of Modesto says the proposal threatens his health care too.
I'm feeling anxious and stressed out.
At an Assembly subcommittee hearing Monday, members questioned the director of the state's Department of Health Care Services.
Where are people going to go when they no longer qualify and can't afford this care on their own?
Individuals would lose access to Medi-Cal and would have to find other means to support the needs that they might have.
I think this is going to lead to more homelessness of seniors and the disabled, and that's what's going to happen, and that will cost our state money too.
In response, the governor's office tells ABC 10, in part, under Governor Newsom's leadership, California became the first state to offer full-scope Medi-Cal to all low-income adults. But because of the $16 billion Trump slump and higher-than-expected health care utilization, the state must take difficult but necessary steps to ensure fiscal stability and preserve the long-term viability of Medi-Cal for all Californians. We will continue to work with the legislature to review budget alternatives that achieve a balanced budget for both this year and in the future. The change would go into effect starting next year. Now, advocates have less than a month to convince state lawmakers. The legislature is required to pass a finalized budget by June 15th. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you. And Governor Newsom has proposed two other possible cuts to Medi-Cal in the budget. One would stop enrolling low-income immigrants without legal status starting in 2026 and begin charging those already enrolled a monthly premium the following year. Another proposal would redirect $1.6 billion from Prop 35 to help offset the state's budget shortfall. Voters approved Prop 35 in November with the promise of increasing Medi-Cal doctors' pay and also reproductive care.